A comedian in Los Angeles just revealed that she was in an abusive relationship, but she did so in an unconventional way, or maybe it is conventional for millennials. She shared her experience on Instagram. Now, the relationship ended a while ago. However, she felt the need to disclose what she went through because a lot of her jokes come from her personal experiences. And she had some serious experiences with domestic violence and allegedly raped. So let's go to the post in question. First thing she did, and this is comedian Beth Stelling, is post an image or a number of images of her legs all bruised up. And that was allegedly after she was abused by an ex-boyfriend. She doesn't name the ex-boyfriend, but she does state that a lot of people are going to know who it is because they live in the same area, they have the same mutual friends, and it's going to get exposed.
And they're both public comedians.
Yes.
So it's not going to be hard to piece together.
Exactly. Now here's what she wrote in the caption to that image. She says, "It's embarrassing. I feel stupid. After being verbally, physically abused and raped, I dated him for 2 more months. It's not simple." She also said, "After I broke up with him, he said, 'You're very open and honest in your stand-up, and I just ask that you consider me when you talk about your ex because everyone knows who you're talking about.' And I abided. I wrote vague jokes because we both live in LA and I didn't want to hurt him, start a war, press charges, be interrogated or harassed by him or his friends and family." Let me just stop right there for a second. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people who are abused by a spouse or a significant other don't come forward and report it to the authorities. Okay? They're afraid of being interrogated. They're afraid of being harassed. I mean, that's what's been happening with the Bill Cosby, victims, and that's what happens to a lot of rape and domestic violence victims. Let me continue. She says, "I wanted to move on and forget because I didn't understand. I don't want revenge or to hurt him now, but it's unhealthy to keep this inside because my stand-up is pulled directly from my life." I think it's incredibly courageous for her to share her story. It's her battle, it's her life, and she gets to make a decision as to what she does going forward. If this guy is abusing her or has abused her in the past or has raped her in the past, he's going to do it again. He should be prosecuted.
So I have my concerns about this story. And first of all, more context on her behalf. So she says that once she came forward, another ex-girlfriend came by and said she experienced the same thing. She claims that there was 2 other people who shared their stories of injustices at his hand. I don't know what that means. That's just a word that she used. And I think even more telling than that, there was a great number of comedians who came out on her side.
Yes.
And all said very courageous. If she had been lying, my guess is a lot of comedians who know both of them would go, whoa, what did you just accuse the guy of rape, etc., right? That's crazy.
Can I add something to that? I know a comedian who knows both of them, and I spoke to him extensively about all of this, and he's inclined to believe her. So I
get that at least the people who have come forward and are public about it are on her side. And if the story is true, which again it seems like it is, you can understand why. She went through all that, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to come forward. My reservation is this guy just got convicted in the press of, by the way, rape, let alone abuse, right? Let alone, bruises on the legs, etc. But rape is significantly worse. And we never had a trial. She didn't go to the authorities. She just accused them of rape, and now it's out there.
Yeah.
So I got to be honest, I don't like the way she handled it. And so, yeah, you guys are right. You can say, oh, easy for you to say. You're right, okay? And I totally understand what she's saying. This is why it's so hard to come forward. I'm not blaming her for coming out 2 months later. I know that that it's conflicted, and all the things that she wrote are what a lot of people feel when they go through this experience. But I just don't think you can do it this way. I don't think it's fair. So
I see your concerns.
How's he going to defend himself? How's he going to defend himself?
Yeah.
He's got to come out and say, it's me, but I didn't rape her?
Yeah.
Already you're screwed. I mean, what if he didn't do it? I mean, you see the bruises, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay. Again, you didn't have a trial. You don't know that it was definitely him. Okay, but I'll give you the bruises. Are we positive that he raped her? I'm not positive. That's not fair. So, no, I know that she's getting a lot of accolades, but no, I'm not with that. I think she did it the wrong way.
I think that the way she did it was what makes her the most comfortable, but I think you're right. She created an environment or a situation where it is difficult for him to defend himself because, yeah, he's not going to come forward publicly and let everyone know who he is and say that I haven't done it. But among their friends and the community in Los Angeles, he's already deemed guilty, and that makes the situation difficult. I'm inclined to believe he did it, okay? Which is why I want him to be in court. I want her to take him to court. I want him to be prosecuted. Rape is not a joke. Domestic violence is not a joke. He needs to be behind bars if he did this to her and multiple women as well, in addition to that, right? So it's.
Now, he got buried. The more I think about it, the more I'm angry at the way she did it. Okay?
I'm more angry at the fact that if it's true, there are going to be more victims and there'll never be any justice. That's what I'm more angry at.
I know people are going to get mad at me, say, you don't have the right to be angry at the way she did it. Look at what she went through. You didn't go through that. And I swear to you that I understand that. But getting assaulted is one thing, and you got the pictures and a lot of people have your back. Rape is a super, super serious charge. So you can't just be like, oh, by the way, I was raped and now I'm going to do comedy about it. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up before I did a comedy routine on it. No, if you got raped, you should press charges. And if you're not going to press charges, then you can't throw that out there like willy-nilly, like, oh, by the way, that guy who you definitely will know who he is in a matter of days raped me, ha. Now I'm going to, no, it's too serious.
It is serious.
It's serious not just for him, but for rape victims to say, oh, by the way, I wanted to joke around about it, so I just want to let everybody know that guy's a rapist. That guy's a rapist. He's never going to be able to clear his name. Never.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And honestly, I'll go even further. I'm not taking her word on it on the rape. I'm not, because that's what trials are for, right? So if you got raped, it's super serious. You take him to court. And if you didn't, I get it, man. I feel terrible for you. I'm not blaming you on it. I don't know what I would do in that circumstance. So I'm not saying, oh my God, you shouldn't complain about it. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. But doing it in a public way, kind of, like, oh, by the way, I just think it's wrong for everybody involved.
Okay, so I want to make my points absolutely clear because I don't agree with you 100%, okay? And I don't want anyone to think that I do agree with you 100%. Look, I understand why she did it this way, okay? I don't agree with it, but I understand why she did it. It is really difficult, especially as a woman, and especially as a woman who's a public figure, to come forward and accuse not only an ex-boyfriend, but someone that you have to work with, someone that you have to deal with on a regular basis because you do the same thing, of rape and assault, right? Because when you do it, people do start questioning you. People do start dragging your name through the mud. They do start interrogating you, and going through a trial for rape, right, especially if you are accused, yes, but the person who is accusing someone else of rape is a difficult thing to do. It actually elongates the grieving process for a lot of victims. So I get why she did it. But at the same time, I agree with you, he should be sent to court, not only to either prove that he didn't do it, or at least to prove that he did do it, and then he serves time behind bars and there aren't more victims for it. So that's my thing. But
yeah, so look, there's not that much disagreement between us. I'm not here to look into her past and to judge her for what she's done in the past. No, I would never get into that, blaming the victim, etc.
But the disagreement comes from the fact that you're making it seem as though she's like flippant about it. I don't think she's flippant about it. I think the way that she wrote it shows that she was thoughtful and that she has concerns about going forward and reporting this to the authorities.
Okay, we do disagree on that.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I'm sure that she thought a lot about it. I'm sure she was pained about it. But if you're not willing to file charges, I don't know, just coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to do a comedy sketch about it, so I just wanted to let you know I was raped.
I think that's misinterpreting or at least misrepresenting what she wrote. That's not what she wrote. You're minimizing what she wrote, and that's the part that's getting under my skin right now.
Yeah, but what's getting under my skin is the guy's never has a chance.
We agree on the heart of that, okay? But at the same time, don't minimize what she wrote as if she's like some valley girl and like, oh my God, I got raped and I'm going to write about it on social media. That's not the way it came across, and I don't want you to misrepresent it. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
you guys can see it for yourself how it came across. So maybe I'm being a jerk in how I'm representing it, but it is literal. Okay, I'll try to not make any voices or anything like that, right? It is literal that she's like, I am going to do comedy routines about this. So I wanted you to know that I got raped.
Okay, that's fair. That is what she wrote. That's fair. I'm totally cool with that.
Okay.
Okay.